Okay, welcome people for coming to this panel titled Shmups, as fun as speedrunning. And yeah, really what this is going to be talking about is shoot 'em ups or shmups. And what is a shmup? Well, you're looking at one. This is a horizontal shmup. This is Darius Gaiden by Touhou. And this is a horizontal shmup which does have a fairly loose, well, it's got some scoring systems and stuff, but we're going to be talking all about shmup scoring systems, and I'm going to talk about how shmups and speedruns are similar to each other in the mindset that you take to approach them when it comes to doing tricks and, you know, doing your various execution and pulling off, whether it be scoring runs that are going to be using scoring tricks, or if it might be one credit clear type of runs, and those are going to be runs where you try to complete the game without using a continue. And this is kind of an aspect that comes from the arcade culture and video games in general. A challenge can be to clear the game in one credit, and I'll be talking about that too. But myself, I am Aquas, so yeah, once again, and my history with shoot 'em ups goes back to about 2007. Actually got into playing shoot 'em ups for score and for one credit clear and that type of thing, and just really liking them a lot more at that time, because I went to a bowling arcade and alley called Flaherty's. It's here in Minnesota with my friends, and yeah, we played DDR and Soul Calibur 2, but they also had a game called Raiden Fighter's Jet. So I'm gonna bring up some footage of that for you guys. Let me cut the audio on this one. So they had a game called Raiden Fighter's Jet. This is actually a pretty fairly popular series. It's the Raiden Fighters series, and it's a spin-off of Raiden. So you have a vertical shooter here, and yeah, this is just stage 1 here, but I'll go over this a little bit more, but I'll just say that when I was at the arcade and I was watching people play this game, I eventually picked up on that they were using certain secrets and doing certain tricks to get a high score, and at the time I just had no idea that that was actually a thing people did with shoot 'em ups. I thought maybe it was just clear the game, maybe if you can't use a continue that'd be cool. I mean, I wasn't that hardcore at the time, but so I saw some players doing some of this stuff, like right there. He damages like those 2 turrets at the same time for an extra bonus. I'm gonna go over this later, but anyway, I see those guys doing it, and I started talking to them, and I'm like, okay, what are you actually doing in this game to get that score? And then so I started learning about Raiden Fighter's Jet, and from that point on, I just had to keep playing shmups and checking them out and playing different ones, because they just have great music, the pacing is great, and just non-stop action. What more can you ask for? So that's kind of my story with that, and then so that's how I got into shmups. And then I also host a show on YouTube. It's called Shooting Game Weekly, and this is a show where I just bring on experts of shooting games, various players in our community, and we just talk about their runs or various things related to the genre. Oftentimes we'll have them commentate like the runs to give us an idea of what's actually going on in these games to get certain score. Yeah, so that's basically the intro to this panel, and I'm gonna just kind of show off some various games that yeah, I really enjoy. Thanks, Cypherin. Some games I really enjoy, and I do think that they highlight some various cool ways to play these games that will keep you busy, just like a speedrun does. I mean, obviously, with a shmup, it's auto-scrolling, so you're going through, you're being presented with different scenarios, and you have a time window to perform those tricks. Not unlike, say, a 2D side-scroller. You're just holding right, you're being presented with obstacles, and then tricks you're doing along the way. You could really compare them, especially if you're playing like a side-scroller, but it's basically any type of game that you're playing for skill, and shmups have these scoring systems baked in for you to enjoy them on a much deeper level than just shooting stuff, which you do plenty of. I mean, that's always gratifying. So what I'll actually end up getting into talking about on this panel is I'll just be showing some of the various games. I'll probably go a little more in depth on Ride and Fighter's Jet here since I just mentioned it. Just stage 1, I'll commentate what's going on there. But then I'll kind of show off some more simple scoring or simple like things you can do in shmups, and then we'll work our way up to more advanced scoring systems that you would never really probably think about on your own, but these games kind of get crazy after a certain point. And then I'll probably wax on and off about some of these various companies that do make these games, because the genre is still alive. Shooting games are alive. Alright, so this is Ride and Fighter's Jet. This is like the 360 port. And we're just going to go from stage 1, and I'm going to commentate kind of what he's doing here. He selected a secret ship called the Slave, and then you see that quick shot on the top of the screen. As anytime you kill enemies quickly, you do a quick shot, and then if you kill another big enemy, while that quick shot text is on screen, you get a multiplier. So yeah, he got an X2 there, X3. Meanwhile, there's this metal following the ship right now, and he's pulling other metals into it, and it's transforming. This is to set up the bulk of the scoring in the game. And the game doesn't tell you this explicitly. By the way, he just destroyed all that stuff at a time to get multiplier bonus 10,000 times 8 there. Pretty good. He's continuing to build the metal up, and now it's one more metal away from being full. And when you grab this metal at full, there it is. You just grab that. That has now activated 10,000 point metals to now spawn from ground metals that will be appearing in the next level. And now what he did right there, I'm going to go back a little bit because this is like a notable secret. He hovers over the right side after he does this. He's going to hover over this right side plane, and that uncovers what's known as the meekless. And this thing shoots out metals. And so after you've collected the purple metal, and you have like 15 airborne metals, because that's what that meekless was shooting out when you shoot it, now those metals have now the metals will now be those 10,000 point gold bar metals. Haven't really seen it yet, but we'll be seeing those on the next stage. So they start at 10,000 points, but this is kind of a mechanic that's in a lot of shmups. It's medaling. So there's the medal right there. You just collected at 30,000. Every time you collect all the medals on screen, the value goes up 10,000 points. Or yeah, 10,000. So those gold medals are going to get up to 100,000 points, and then you have your scoring set up. Like for the most part, the rest is going to be some various like scoring tricks and secrets. But yeah, we'll just watch him, this player, build up the medals here. He just built up 3 medals from that train there just by like moving along it, so that's a trick. And then there's another meekless from hovering over that turret. That's a thing, and now he's gonna cover another one there. Spit out the medals. Those are all now 100,000 point medals, and he's getting all these 100,000 point medals on the second stage now. So just imagine, yeah, you didn't do any of that stuff that's set up in the first stage. You might kind of figure out that you need to build these medals, like if you really experimented a lot. But if you know, you know. And like I say, when I met these guys at that arcade, they did explain to me how you build these medals up to the 100,000 point medals. So he's doing the bulk of the scoring now. Now there's like a secret here where he's gonna like move along this girder, and that's gonna spawn a bunch of fairies, and then that's gonna be like a huge little score trick. It's gonna do it. Yeah, there it is. So that was 100,000 points times 6, and there was like 12 collections of that. So that was like a pretty like notable score trick. And then again, like this game has a mechanic where you destroy stuff kind of within the same window. You get a multiplier bonus. So like the bottom line with Ride and Fighter's Jet is they really introduced a lot of different secrets and like tricks to play, and then also have the base scoring system with the medaling. So this is a pretty sophisticated game, and has just so much more to it. I really love it. But yeah, that's Ride and Fighter's Jet. That's a little complicated, right? Because we're talking about building up medals in the first screen, and you don't know that you have to do that. really, necessarily, until you've actually done it and seen it via experimentation, but we're gonna try to go to, we're gonna talk about like a simpler game now. We're gonna go to some Gradius. Now I'm just gonna bring up Gradius. This is Gradius 4. This is the arcade version, and this was available on the PlayStation 2 as a port. So scoring is going to be more simple in a game like Gradius. None of the Gradius games really have advanced scoring. This is going to be a game of endurance for scoring and survival. So you may have some shmups that have like a deep scoring system like Reinfer's Jet, but you're going to have something more simple like Gradius 4, and this is a really difficult game. So like in this stage, for example, these bubbles, as they're splitting, they're pretty, like, they can kill you. It's just quite nasty, and then now you have these icebergs now bouncing with the bubbles as well. So do you shoot the bubbles to make the icebergs go away, or what do you do? So yeah, this is just an example of playing a shmup just for pure survival, and you can get extra score here and there from like letting like certain ports spill out enemies, or maybe just killing full formations. But yeah, Gradius 4 is going to be a game kind of about just trying to survive and then going through. This is an expert player of the game. Probably somebody who's been playing the game for over a decade or 15. And yeah, a lot of these shmups, especially these arcade ones, do have some maniac players out there. And yeah, no exception, Gradius series has some pretty insane players. But notable about these Gradius games too is they keep building up in difficulty up through the 10th loop. So a loop is playing through the whole game once, and as you go through each loop, it'll actually make new situations, and well, notably in the second loop of this game, it does rearrange the stage landscapes, and those are some revenge bullets. I think. Okay, I don't think we're on loop 2 yet, but. Anyway, yeah, so he's like using a trick here where he like stays in the back to make like these bubbles stay in the back, because otherwise if you stay in the front at the beginning, like the bubbles can overwhelm you. Shoot the core. Gotta love Gradius. Really love this game, one of my favorites. But yeah, just to showing this, just to show you guys that it's not just, if it doesn't need a crazy scoring system to enjoy shmup, you can just play Gradius or something simple, because they're simple games, right? And yeah, I can maybe show something a little crazy. I think this goes to like loop 2. But yeah, but then it introduces revenge bullets, so when you attack an enemy, now they're spitting out bullets. So yeah, Gradius 4. Let's go to Eschatos on the Xbox 360 originally. This is a game made by pretty old school creator. Yeah, maybe we could use this game tunes up in here. We'll start from the beginning here. So this is a vertical shooter. Pretty straightforward game, but I chose to show off this one because you can get this on modern consoles and such. But it's got a pretty basic scoring system. So how the scoring in this game works is there's going to be enemy waves, and they come pretty frequently, but as you destroy a full enemy wave, every enemy of the wave, you build up a multiplier. There it's now ×2 in the top left, ×3, and ×4. So he's going to build this up to x20, and really the focus of the scoring of this is just destroy every enemy in the waves to build up your multiplier, and then if you let any enemies escape, each enemy will detract 1 from that counter. So this does demand a certain level of perfection to get the high scores, but it's just very simple because all you're doing is killing every enemy, and by doing that you're building up that multiplier. I like Eschatos as well because it just has a shot button, and then it has a sub-weapon shot, that's the yellow shot, button 2. And then it also has a shield that you can use to block bullets, and you can also use it offensively. So there's button 2, the yellow shot. The shield will be it will use the gauge in the bottom left. It's consumed 50% there, and then you use it offensively. And then 1-ups will appear in this game when you kill so many enemies. So you can collect a lot of 1-ups in this as well. This game also features the F-bomb. So that's just just an item you grab, and it just destroys everything, and that'll come through here. But really like Eschatos. It's got a great aesthetic that kind of reminds me of the Dreamcast. Very simple, yet it came out in 2011, originally on the Xbox 360. And this is by a guy, a programmer named M. Kai, and he was known for pushing the hardware on the old MSX computer. He's made a game called Pleasure Hearts and Kyokugen. And those games on the MSX are really nothing like else, has tons of sprites. And so, yeah, basically you had a game here by an old school developer, and I really think it's awesome. Yeah, so I like this game too because like it shows you like these green lines, and that shows you where you can fly because it uses like these perspective shifts. And then those green boxes are actually the hitboxes of the parts of this battleship. So that is Eschatos. So, you know, pretty sweet, right? Let's go to another fairly simple scoring system, another vertical shooter. And one of my favorites is Musha Hime-sama Futari. And this would release in arcades originally around 2007 or 8, around there. And so you have a character that has a laser shot and an auto shot. The laser is kind of like a focus shot, and then the auto shot is that wide shot. I'm pointing that out because there's some numbers in the top left, and if you look carefully there, those numbers, that top left number, it's green right now. It just turned blue, so it turns green and blue every 500. And so how you collect, how you make that counter go up is from collecting these gems from enemies up close and using the proper shot type. Yeah, so let me just go back a little bit there. When you kill enemies with the wide shot, when the counter is green, you get large gems. And this increases the counter faster. When you laser enemies when the counter is blue, you get large gems. So now the counter is blue, he just shot that large floating land for extra points, and then lead enemy. So he's using the laser there to build up his counter faster. Now switching back to auto shot to build the gems faster. So the dynamic in this game is you're constantly switching your shot type, wide or laser, to build up the counter as fast as possible, as high as possible. This counter is going to last from stage to stage. This is a 5-stage game. So, assuming you get pretty dang good at the game, you can keep that counter throughout the whole game and keep building it up until the very end. And as you build it higher and higher, the game's difficulty will also increase. So, this is just their way of making arcade games, so you can get players money, you know, part of it. But it is part of the whole thing. Anyways, he's waiting to destroy this dinosaur at the right time so he can get the right amount of gems. I think what he's doing here is waiting for a certain bullet pattern to get a bigger cancel, because you notice like when the boss phases and cancels bullets. Anyways, like he killed it with the wide shot, so he got large gems. Furthermore, picking up the gems right after an enemy is killed gives them a green aura. That green aura also multiplies the points of the gems. So that's, like, you're not, I think you're getting more gem value, but you're also getting more score, so it really all plays into that. We'll watch a little bit of stage 2 here, and, you know. So, this is a cave game. Cave is like the modern kind of bullet hell shmup makers, and this is kind of one of their flagship series. Started with Musha Hime-sama 1, aka Bug Princess, and then they made a sequel with like kind of dinosaur type enemies. So it's a fantasy shooter with bug and dinosaur type enemies. Here you have a large icicle. He's gonna let the enemies shoot a bunch of bullets and then collect up those squids are coming out of the icicle. He lets them collect up and then destroys the icicle to get a full screen cancel. And all those bullets are being turned into gems as well, which does also raise your counter. So I didn't mention the number beneath the 10,000 green. That's your stage counter. So you're also raising that, doing the same methods. But the higher that is, the more points you get. That factors into the overall counter. So it's overall counter and stage counter. So stage counter will reset the next stage. So yeah, if you die though, your overall and stage counter are cut in like a third. So dying is really bad for your score, and obviously, if you're trying to keep your score, you want to run. You gotta 1 credit clear the game too, because your score's not gonna. Your score's gonna end after game over. That's how it works in the arcade. Comes to mid boss here. You know, Mushima-sama Futari and these other arcade shmups are nice. So when he's using, or they are using the laser, I think it's he. And check who's playing this, but when you use a laser, you see there's a little circle. Even when he's not using it, there's a little circle in between the character. That shows the hitbox. The hitbox of the character is like 2 pixels. So that's like a really key thing to understand when you're playing a shmup. Any shmup really is know your hitbox, because these bullet hell games they thrive off of the fact that the hitbox is so tiny. And not only is your hitbox tiny, but the bullets' hitboxes are tiny as well. So knowing that, you can really start to play to the strength of your own dodging and that type of thing. Another focus I wanted to do on this panel is just kind of talk about some techniques that are being employed here. And this game should be able to show some of them, and maybe some just things you expect in shooters. One thing that you'll, and throughout the stage, is the boss here, but you usually have like a few different types of bullet patterns. You've got static. So static is going to be like a 3-way spread that's always it's always going towards the same spot on the screen. Those white bullets, those are aimed. So you have aimed attacks and static attacks. That's kind of what you're dealing with here. And then you understand what's aimed and what's static, and then how those bullet patterns behave, and then you can then formulate a strategy for getting through. So a bit of a mixture of the static and aimed there. Aimed spear bullets with the kind of pseudo-aimed static purple spread there. And you notice like the aimed bullets are going faster than the slower bullets, so a lot of like kind of getting good at shmups is just threat assessment. So you're going to be looking at, you're trying to parse the game screen. You're trying to understand what's the actual threat. And so knowing that your hitbox is tiny is quite helpful, and just knowing the bullet patterns and hitboxes and all that stuff. Yeah, so you get a bonus from not dying in that level, and then you get some other bonuses from no bombs. But yeah, this is a really great game, and you can pick this up on the Xbox 360. Unfortunately, it does not have a modern port, but it does also it does work in the Xbox 360 emulator known as Xenia, so perhaps check that out. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about some techniques here. There's going to be some unique hazards in this level. So the player is shooting this sack, and that's shooting out like smaller bugs. Ultimately, you can use that as a cancel, and then a lot of these bigger enemies will function as screen canceling enemies. So this is really like kind of the allure of a lot of these bullet hell games, is they do like to use these enemies that just cancel the full screen of bullets. And it's nice because it just gives you like a little breather. The little like bugs on the ground are all doing aimed bullets. Like this enemy, aimed attack, but just micro dodge. This player's got pretty unlocked, but yeah, so to get more gems, he's agitating this sack on the ground, and that's making more bugs come out, and then destroying it with the proper shot type. Yet again, once again, using the blue shot on when the counter, or the laser when the counter is blue, wide shot when the counter is green. Mushima-sama Futari is quite good. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying checking out these games with me. They're really awesome. Let's go to a different type of scoring system and another cave game. This one is called Guwange, and this is an older game by the same company. This takes on a very Japanese style mythology of a story with like lots of demons and blood, and it's what you'd call a character shmup as well. So this kind of became a little bit more popular like in the 2000s. Character shmups, because it's a lot of times it's like your ships and stuff, but here we have a game where we're controlling an actual character moving on the ground. But so Guwange, what's going on here is you have a laser, and that's a spirit that is deployed. You can see the character using it now. And so when you hold button 1 to use the laser, you then are restricted to horizontal movement, and then you are given freedom to move the spirit wherever you'd like to damage things. And then you have your auto shot, which this character shoots out a barrage of knives. And you might have noticed these rain of coins going on. So the scoring system revolves around those coins, and notably that meter in the top left. Once you you collect coins from killing small enemies with your rapid shot, and you also get more coins from killing large enemies with your laser. Kind of similar to Mushimi-sama Futari boss fight here. But the goal here is to build that chain up, and so there's a skull meter here. So it's called a chain because you have to constantly be keeping this meter healthy, and to do that you need to be attacking enemies either with the rapid shot or auto fire, or the laser, which is just holding button 1. So laser and rapid. And then so there's another scoring technique that's going on here. This gets a little more advanced, but once you have over 1,000 coins and you've maintained this chain, you can then start holding rapid shot and tapping button 1 or the laser. And what this is doing is it's making the skull meter go from gray to gold. So if you ever notice, the skull meter drops into the gray when it goes low. Yeah, you don't actually get coins when it's gray. So you're incentivized to continuously kill stuff and keep it gold so you can actually get coins from stuff. So the player's using a really nice technique there where he's freezing those bullets and then like hitting stuff in the back with the small enemies with the rapid shot. But anyway, like I'll kind of talk more about the mechanics of this game so this makes a little more sense. The spirit, when it does hover over bullets, it slows them down, and when it does that and the bullets remain pink, they can also turn into coins. So you're getting coins from a few different sources here, and unlike it's kind of similar to Mushimi-sama Futari, this coin count is going to carry through the whole game. Unfortunately, though, if you stop attacking enemies and that skull meter depletes completely, you will have to start back from 0. So that's a huge blow to your score. So this is kind of common in some shmups, but it's a fairly all or nothing scoring system. Thankfully, the chaining of killing the enemies isn't super strict, and you also maintain the chain by hovering over bullets. So you actually see the player hovering over these bullets from the spiders, and that's just really keeping the skull gauge healthy and in the gold, getting tons of coins in the process. Alright, let me just take a sip of water here. But yeah, it just goes non-stop hard on this game. Again, using that technique where holding rapid fire and then tapping laser. So laser is what's building the skull gauge into the gold, and when it gets into the gold briefly, you get coins. So this is what's called milking or farming. You're like farming the points out of the boss by using this technique, or farming the score. And then so this will kind of go on and on, but I really do enjoy this game. It gets pretty addicting when you start putting together the chains. One nice thing about this is when you start to do the chains, this in turn helps you learn the enemy spawns, and so you'll end up like surviving the game in general just from doing the chains alone. Guwange is a 5-stage game, and yeah, it is pretty great. You hear that coin sound prevalent because they want everybody in the arcade to know that people are playing Guwange. Yeah, look at this. Hovering over these enemies that just spit out lots of bullets to get the coins there. This is kind of a section that shows off the mechanics of the game pretty well. You also have a bullet canceling mechanic in the game, so when you kill an enemy with your spirit, any bullets around your spirit are automatically canceled as well. So this is kind of like a burst fire bullet canceling mechanic that the game has. So you can use, like there's these ghost maidens in the front. You can hit them with spirit, and that'll block the bullets coming from the back. And this is one instance in the game where you actually need to hover over the bullets to keep the chain. That's a little trick there. You don't need to do that type of stuff too often. It's pretty as long as you're just damaging stuff, you're gonna keep the chain in this game. But yeah, I mean, look at this. It's a cat spider. Doesn't get much better. So yeah, that's a chaining scoring system in Guwange. Well, let's perhaps move on to another game here. We got a few games to show. Let's turn off the sound on that one. Alright, we're gonna go to Mushime-sama the original. So this is gonna be an example of a pretty advanced scoring system, and I'll show off the highlights of it, but you have kind of a chaining system in this game as well. The first stage isn't gonna show it off too well. Second stage will be better. Alright, so you have that number in the top left. That's just rising from shooting stuff. And anytime you're not shooting anything, it depletes quite rapidly. But there's ways to increase that counter, very specific ways to increase that counter in this game. This mid-boss is actually going to demonstrate this shortly. Yeah, so this gets kind of weird, but basically there's some numbers over the mid-boss here. There's smaller numbers with pluses next to them and a larger number. In this game, you can really skyrocket your scores on these large enemies like mid-bosses and other similar enemies. So I gotta rewind this. But you notice that counter got up to over 100,000. That was accomplished via a certain button techniques. So what's going on here is the lasers are building those smaller counters, and meanwhile, like that larger number is being built as well. Right now, the player is tapping button 1, and this is it's essentially like banking or increasing a background multiplier, and then he's cashing that multiplier in by tapping the rapid shot. So what that is a slow tap of the slow tap of button 1, which is your laser, and that's still gonna do your rapid shot, and then it's a quick tap of the rapid fire. So this is weird. Like, this is kind of one of those scoring systems that's it's a little obtuse and quite difficult to figure out on your own, but I just want to show it off just to give it an idea of how weird this one is. But anyway, like, the player has built up this counter dramatically on that mid-boss by using those techniques and not dying, which would kill the counter completely, And this large number allowed the player to get a massive score in this level. We'll just go to another like point of the game where it shows off that technique. I think stage 4 has a good mid-boss that really demonstrates it. And this is pretty difficult because you have to do the button technique with dodging at the same time. It's really tricky. Yeah, so here, the slow button 1 tapping to raise that large counter. Meanwhile, the lasers are building those smaller counters, and then tapping rapid fire to cash in those lasers, and then it filters into the bigger number. Yep, so the player has done that while magnificently dodging all of this somehow. So assuming you don't die to this, you can carry this 100,000 plus chain throughout the rest of the level. And so this is where you can see the score really going up right now, because he's going to be able to play the rest of the level with the high counter. All right, where are we at? Where are we at for time here? 4:36. Okay. We still got some more stuff to talk about. But yeah, so this is the Maniac mode of Mushime-sama. So the first game and the second game, they both have multiple gameplay modes, and this was like kind of like a feature that stuck out for the Mushime-sama franchise. Notably, some of you might have even seen a video on the internet, hardest boss ever, or something like this. With it has a boss from, I think it's either this game or the last boss from this game or the game, but both of these games have a mode called Ultra, and it's a mode that's so difficult that it asks you if you truly want to play it when you boot up the game. So this is not Ultra mode. All right, well, let's move on to perhaps some other stuff here. I got some other games we can take a look at here. Probably just end up ranting about some techniques that people use to kind of feel their way out in shmups, you know, because I want you guys to play them, not be too intimidated by the scoring, but there's, you know, techniques that go into them. This is Choren Sha. This is a pretty old shooter. That actually, I think it was originally on the X68K computer, but this is a pretty popular one. Let's maybe go a bit further in the replays, get the action going. But this is like pretty frenetic shooter. I don't know this one a ton, but we can see some various techniques employed here, like point blanking, getting close to enemies to do more damage. You see that in a lot of shmups. That's something you can do. And yeah, we'll just see some of the kind of typical bullet fare. I guess in this game you can get score from like going in between those little power-up things and like that. There's a lull more in the action there. I'm trying to get that crap off the screen. But yeah, this looks pretty tough, right? I don't even know like if those were aimed or if those were static bullet patterns. It can be hard to tell at times, but most of the time you're trying to assess the threat. Yeah, like you can see, like you could even like pause it and see these bullet patterns. Like, so like these purples, like these are static, so they're always going in the same place. So if you know that that bullet pattern is always going in that spot, you don't need to be in that area. And then like the player knew they could go in the center there and finish off the boss. Like obviously a lot of shmups, getting good at shmups is memorization. Don't count it out, because yeah, you are gonna have to memorize some stuff and all this. But go watch take a look at Choren Sha a little bit more. Why not? A lot of people really like this game. I personally have not played this one a lot. Yeah, like, instead of grabbing a 1-up or like a power-up item, they go in like the center of those for score. Bomb. Okay, well, let's try a different game. Maybe one I can comment on a little bit more. Let's take a look at Metal Black. This will be more of a traditional type of horizontal shooter. Metal Black is a Taito horizontal shooter from, I think, 1991. And this will have like a pretty straightforward scoring. You have like these crazy bonus stages that are not shmup sections at all that give you a lot of points, but in this game you have like the beam level in the bottom left, and that'll just be your main shot power. It's maxed out. It's got 5 levels, and you can spend that beam level and do a screen clearing attack or a focused beam attack. And so this game would introduce beam battles with bosses. So the bosses in this will also use gigantic beams, and you can verse them in a Dragon Ball Z type beam battle war. And so that's what you can use the beam levels for. So the player then has spent the beam level, and then you just collect it through those neurons, those power-ups that are always flying around. That powers up your beam level quickly. Oh. This is really like, you know, this is a tough game because there's kind of like a lot of randomness to these enemies and how they behave, but they also all have their own unique behaviors, and that's part of just identifying how to get better at a shmup. Try to pay attention to what enemies you're dealing with, and deal with that. Like these, man, some of the enemies in this are so ridiculous. And you have a lot of different types here. These ones that come from the back, those ones that are creating like a wall. And you have like these ones that kind of fly over you and just do that. Like, that looked pretty cheap. These enemies home in on the player. So you have like a pretty like slow moving ship in this game, but when your beam level is high, it actually protects your ship really well around the ship. So that's the benefit of having a higher beam level. And then this is the final boss of the game. This game has kind of a cool story. Basically, humankind has been mostly wiped out, and your character steals an experimental aircraft in a kind of rogue move because they just wanted to get stuff done. So there's actually 2 endings to this game. One, you come here and you fight the aliens because aliens have mostly wiped out humankind, and like there's some really trippy stuff going on here. Maybe I could turn up the volume a little bit if we have any volume here. I'll have to go to one of the beam battles I was talking about earlier, but anyway, on the previous stage, on the previous stage, if you game over, there's an alternate ending where the character's death makes spurs on a coup in the military, and then you see they reveal that the military decided to mass produce the ship that you're using because your guy, he stole this ship. It's called the Black Fly, and the Black Fly uses the experimental technology of the aliens. And that's like the whole lore of doing the beam battles in the game. So actually, I want to show you guys a beam battle though, because it's really sick. Well, I think we'll get one here, maybe. Oh, I'll show off the bonus level in this first, because the bonus level is worth a lot of points. And I just want to talk about it just because. Let's see here. Okay, there it is. Is it going? Sorry about that. I think I've lost the play on the button here. All right, let me just reopen the video if you don't mind. Okay, I know stage 1 has a beam battle. So you gotta see it. Okay, we'll wait for it. Yeah, so there it is. Oh my god, is the player not gonna do it? Come on, man. So anyway, the bosses do use these beams, and you can counter it with your own. The player doesn't do that because I believe it's higher scoring not to use it. Come on, man. They're intentionally not wanting me to show a beam battle to you guys. Ugh. Anyway, the beam battle would actually carry on to Gradius and Border Down. We need some more beam battles going on. Maybe we have one on the Dung Beetle. This is the Dung Beetle boss. I feel like in this panel I've kind of just went on starting to ranting about just various shmup stuff, but the point of the panel was to just show you guys that shmups are pretty dang fun, and you know, if you learn the techniques and various tricks, you're basically composing a run all the way through, and with ultimately you're getting the result of a high score or a 1 credit clear. And it's really not that much different than just doing a speed run. It's just you're just going to be probably a little bit more focused depending on the game. Yeah, we have a question from our audience. Why not? We might have a live mic over here.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
It's not live. All right, just come on up. All right, we got my friend Cyphrin joining the panel as a surprise guest.
Excellent panel, Aquas. I just wanted to ask, with all the visual stimulation, you know, from the shmups, is there anything that you do in particular just to say, like, to relax your eyes? Because you do a lot of this, just like for somebody new, you know, starting off. Like, how do you sort of decompress yourself to get back, like, to just keep jumping back into it?
Yeah, thank you. All right, good question. So he's asking, Cyphrin's basically asking, how do you deal with all the stuff coming at you? Basically, he's asking where to look on screen, I think is what he's ultimately asking. And yeah, I was kind of talking about this before, but you're essentially just trying to do threat assessment. So you want to know what you need to be watching out for. In terms of the vertical shooters, like, you don't want to be looking at your character. Like, you want to be looking at the threat as it's appearing, and then using, like, your shot as an indicator of where you are. So this is something you can do in vertical shooters. It works a little bit better. Horizontal shmups, it's a little bit different. Like, yes, you can use your shot as a visual indicator of where you are. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of what he was going for with that question. Since I had Cyphrin up here, if anybody does have a question, you can feel free to come up and ask me. Otherwise, I'll just keep ranting on here a bit. But thank you, Cyphrin, for that. Hopefully I answered it to some extent. But not only that, but practice. Like speedrunning, it takes practice. So, you know, you're not gonna get good at these games right away. In fact, when you're first time playing them, it's just you're gonna fall to the various traps, and there's a lot of them. So this bonus stage, you're wondering what the heck is going on here? All right, so there's a cursor that appears, and then the idea here is to lock on to the enemy, and then this is a cutscene playing of the missiles going after the enemies. So the idea here is to lock on to the enemy as fast as possible, and then you get a pretty giant score bonus so you can do that as fast as possible. The trick to doing this is the cursor remains where you leave it on the previous launch, And then so you want to anticipate the enemies with the cursor. So you gotta hover it over like the nose of these enemies to do it. And then you just watch these missiles wildly fly around just because it looks cool. Like that's what Taito was about with this. And sometimes the missiles just wrap around over and over, but yeah, like that was a giant score bonus. The perfect bonus plus the time bonus, and I think got an extra life from that as well. But yeah, like it doesn't have to be these crazy scoring games. Like it can be just whatever. So if you want to get into shmups, I would say the best way to do it is just to try various games and just see what clicks with you. It could be like UN Squadron on the Super Nintendo, or Gradius 3 on the Super Nintendo, or Axelay, or it could be really a lot of stuff. Like there's so many of them out there, like hundreds, if not thousands. And you can like look up like a top shmups list on Google or whatever, and you can like start from there. You can go to the Shmups forum. You can like look up top 25. Like you'll get plenty of results, and that'll show you a lot of stuff. Because I've only given you guys just like a surface scratch of like everything that's out there. Like I showed a few cave games, but there's also like some prominent shooting game companies like Psychio. They do Gunbird, and they do the Gunbird series and the Strikers series, and they're known for like kind of ride-in style type games. But they also have like their own scoring systems. And there's Takumi, who did Mars Matrix, and that's a game where you have like one button to attack, but it does like 5 different things. So it's like you really just have a lot of different stuff you can try out. Why don't we just throw a different video on? But yeah, Metal Block's very cool. They went for something very like psychedelic and kind of trippy with this game, and I think they did a pretty cool job. We'll go to some Ginga Force. This is another game by M-Kai or Cute. So another game by it's basically the sequel to Eschatos from earlier. But yeah, they put out this game. This is like a nice throwback to like your kind of shmup that has like the anime storyline and like the voice acting and stuff like going on. Like it really makes you feel like you're in an anime. So like the characters are talking and like they're like concerned about what you're doing. So like it really delivers in that regard for like the whole experience. This game has some of the similar mechanics to Eschatos. Like this one has the shield and the main shot and sub shot buttons. But nicely, when you're holding the shield button in this and you take a hit, it just consumes your shield gauge and then you just recharge it back up. So that does not count as a death. Yeah, this game's pretty great too. It also features a variety of weaponry. So this is one of those shmups where you actually collect money and then you buy different weaponry throughout the game. And there's like a lot of different stuff you can mess around with. But yeah, that's really my whole point. Like with shmups, like you can just mess around with all sorts of different games, and eventually you might find one that'll click with you and be like, okay, I want to sit down with this game and just beat it on 1 credit, or maybe even just 3 credits, or just like try to get through. As long as you like playing it, you'll probably pick up on a lot of the techniques that are used to get through. You know, some basic techniques like tap dodging, like you kind of see it there, and that's just like tapping left in one direction to herd bullets behind you. You know, there's various terminologies, and then like there's other techniques like you'll kind of eventually kind of learn like cutbacks. So a cutback is when like a lot of aimed bullets are shot at you, and then say you're holding left and you're going to the side of the screen, those bullets are all chasing you. But if like you stagger your movement at the side of the screen, you'll create a gap in those aimed bullets. That gap allows you to escape and then go back to the other side of the screen. So, you know, it's a lot of like sweeping left and right type of movement in shmups that's going to be your bread and butter for surviving. Now, King of Force here, this game does get pretty insane. I will say there's a lot of stuff going on, and they just want you in the thick of it. Like, you're gonna die in this game. It's pretty good. I do believe I'm playing a story mode. There's an arcade mode here, but anyway, this game does get pretty crazy. I just really like how it looks like a Dreamcast game, and it's got a really epic soundtrack. And like that's just another great reason to play Shmups is the soundtrack. I'm not even talking about speedrunning anymore at this point, but you know, I think the crowd who enjoys speedruns would really enjoy this type of gameplay as well, and would love to have more people kind of join the community because like we got a lot of people out there that are pretty intense. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got some people with some questions perhaps. Feel free to come on up.
So, I was wondering, because this is happening to me, but how do you like approach when you hit a wall in a shmup? Like, I hit a wall in Gradius 4 where I get to like stage 7 or 8 and I just lose my 1cc there all the time. Sometimes I get to 9, like I hit the literal wall where you go into the corridor and just dead, so yeah. What's your like approach?
Alright, so Slurpy Ninja asks, what happens when you hit a wall and you can't get any further in a shmup? And I've been watching him do Gradius 4 runs for like 2 or 3 years now. And I think he's still trying to one credit clear, but I've been really proud of his progress. And I have to say that's a really, really tough game. So he's stuck on the final level, and yeah, that's tough. So Gradius 4 is a funny one because when you game over on the final level, they kick you out of the game, and so I guess Slurpees had to deal with this. However, if you play on easier difficulty in Gradius 4, you can get more credits to practice the final level, and so Gradius 4 is pretty bad with that, but a lot of times it really does come down to using the stage select and using any of the tools that you have at your disposal as far as like save state practice, or that port does have the stage select.
Before, when you come back, you can't get enough power-ups to get where you
Yeah, so Slurpy's mentioning too in the final level of Gradius 4, if you die there, it's really difficult to recover. So recovery is also something you gotta deal with in shmups, especially when you lose all your power-ups. That is tough. That is just, that last stage is tough to recover on. There's 2 really impossible checkpoints. Like the beginning, like that first checkpoint after you go into the base. That one's near impossible. So do not die on that one. Yep, don't die in that first checkpoint. But yeah, that Gradius 4 is quite difficult. But yeah, I would say it wouldn't hurt to watch other replays and see how other people do it. Sometimes it just helps so much to see what solutions other players will come up with, and you know, we do have a lot of resources out there for a lot of these games because a lot of them are aged at this point and they have pretty die-hard fans. King of Force here, like this one kind of remains a little underplayed, but I just love showing it off because it just feels like one of those games that it just screams like this is a shmup and this is awesome. May have had another question from you, maybe? Okay, we've got 2 live mics up here. If
Hello.
Wants a question.
Oh, it is live. Hi. So, I am a shmupper as well, but let's say for the sake of argument that I am a speedrunner main, and I have just, you know, tried a shmup or 2, found that they're interesting, and I want to learn more. Oh, Batrider, hell yeah. Okay, so what are some examples of community resources or community spaces that I could find if I wanted to, say, start communicating and learning from experts?
Right, yeah, there's probably like a few like main communities, but probably our main one is a community called the Electric Underground, which I'm sure you're familiar with. and do have a Discord, and it is probably the biggest English gathering of like shmup players. It's called the Electric Underground, so you may want to check out that. They do YouTube videos talking about some of the stuff I talk about here, just talking about like why is a shmup good and all this and techniques that go into it. But furthermore, we have the Shmup Wiki. So the Shmup Wiki is available. That's basically a Wikipedia page that's created by players of shmups to gather information on the mechanics and all the different scoring and that type of thing. So you can really go there and really see what you're dealing with in these various games without having to dig deeper into like forum posts, because that's kind of what we were dealing with in the past. Is we had a main forum on the first Shmups. It's called Shmups Forum, and this is like a forum. And so we would have our strategy section, and that would be like somewhere we could go to get strategies. But it's still kind of, you know, compared to speedrunning, like speedrunning is kind of overshadowed Shmups by quite a bit. But you can they're really quite similar in ways you can enjoy them. But I think that probably is close to answering.
Shmups.wiki, by the way, if you're interested in seeing that.
Yeah, the Shmup Wiki, shmup.wiki. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, we're getting to I think close to the end of this panel. But if anybody has any other lingering questions and stuff like that, please let me know. But there's, you know, like I say, I have a show on YouTube. It's called SGDQ Weekly. I did say at the beginning, but if you ever want to hear people talk about one particular game and really go in depth on like what really makes this game what it is, because that's the thing with a lot of shmups is they don't spell out all these mechanics and stuff. Like these are a lot of the stuff is hidden, and it's for the players to kind of discover, and then the players have to learn from each other. And you know, this is kind of part of arcade culture. Like back in the day, like it was like players in arcades would just watch each other at the arcade, and they would like make like notebooks, or like they just like have notes of like what the other guys were doing. And then they would actually make, like, back in the like original arcade days, they would make guides, and they would actually distribute them, like, within a very small circle. So it's like, you have, like, kind of this grassroots style of knowledge acquirement that's happened throughout the years. And, like, right here we're looking at, like, Armed Police Batrider, played by probably one of the best players of this game. But they had to study the game a lot to really understand where all these points are coming from. Sometimes the games do have systems though that will let you understand what's happening. Like in this game in particular, you can use a button command that will show you the point value of targets, and that's something you can just turn on. And so then you can start to see like, oh, if I kill this this helicopter with my aura, which is what this person's doing, you get 10,000 points versus like 1,000 points. So there is sometimes stuff like that, like this is what you do to score this boss. This game's a very deep scoring game, by the way, with a ton of secrets and a ton of little things. A lot of like boss dissection and destroying parts of bosses and letting enemies and like types of attacks fill the screen so that you can then shoot more bullets. It goes on and on. But yeah, I hope I gave you guys a good taste of what shmups are all about, and that the rabbit hole is quite freaking deep. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to see some of my favorite speedrunners try some of these games out and see what they can do, because there's a lot of untapped potential. I'd say from the skill set of players in this community. So I'm going to wrap it up here, but thank you everyone for coming by. And this is my pleasure to talk about shmups. And feel free to come up to me later if you want to. Anyway.